So we'll proceed to the energy cycle, and our storage variable is going to be the total heat content, which is the heat capacity times the average soil temperature of our system. Coming in, we will have solar radiation. We will denote as R sub S with a downward arrow. We will have some amount of solar radiation that is reflected. We'll denote that as RS with an up arrow. And remember that we have incoming long wave radiation, which we'll denote with a squiggly line here. And we will denote that R sub L with a downward arrow. And then the land surface also emits long wave radiation, which we will label R sub L with an up arrow. And we also have a loss in the form of the sensible heat flux from the land surface to the atmosphere. And finally, the latent heat flux, which is just lambda, the latent heat of vaporization, times ET, the evapotranspiration rate in units of mass per time. And finally, we can lose energy from the land surface to the deeper ground, which we will denote here as the ground heat flux G. Okay, so now let's go ahead and write down the budget equation that balances all these terms, and we will have the heat capacity of our system times the change in average soil temperature with respect to time. That is our storage variable, and it is balanced by, coming in, we have solar radiation coming from the sun. Also coming in, we will have long wave radiation that is emitted by the atmosphere to the Earth's surface. We will have some amount of solar radiation that is reflected back out into the atmosphere, and the land surface also emits radiation in the long wave from the land to the atmosphere. And an important insight, if you remember that all of these terms here, so these are the net incoming terms here, the long wave and short wave, and then we have the net outgoing terms here. And in fact, we can lump all of these radiation terms here, the incoming solar, incoming long wave, outgoing short wave, outgoing long wave, as R sub n, the net radiation. Okay, so remember that that was the definition of the net radiation. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and erase all of these individual terms, and we will just replace those four terms with the net radiation. Okay, so outflux terms include the ground heat flux from the land to the deeper ground, the sensible heat flux from the land to the atmosphere, and then the latent heat flux, which is the energy associated with evaporation of water at the land surface.